Okay, so let's get right into it. There's this huge conflict brewing over something we all take for granted: electricity. For years, right, Bitcoin mining has been fighting this battle over its energy use. But now, a new player, a much, much bigger player, is stepping onto the field. And believe me, it is changing all the rules of the game. And this quote, this really says it all. This isn't just some catchy line. When a firm like BlackRock, one of the biggest investment giants on the planet, puts out a warning like this, you know it signals a massive shift. The whole AI boom, well, it's not just happening in the cloud. It's a real-world, physical problem that's about to hit our power grids in a way we are just not ready for. And here it is. This is the number that's making everyone's head spin. BlackRock is warning that by the end of the decade, AI data centers could be sucking up nearly a quarter of all electricity in the United States. I mean, just pause and think about that. A demand that huge could totally reshape the entire American power landscape. So let's dig into this warning from BlackRock, because the key takeaway is that this isn't just another tech trend. No, this is a physical world problem. The absolutely explosive growth of AI is slamming headfirst into the very real, very hard limits of our physical infrastructure. You know, for a while there, the big race in AI was all about who could get their hands on the most advanced computer chips. Well, that battlefield has completely shifted. The new race isn't for silicon anymore. It's a flat-out race for megawatts. Now, you might look at this and think, okay, that 24% from BlackRock seems a little extreme. And yeah, it's definitely on the high end. It's designed to be provocative. But look at the other forecasts here. Even the most conservative, buttoned-up estimates from research labs are predicting massive, massive growth. Growth that's absolutely going to be enough to tighten power markets for, well, for everybody. All right, so on one side, you've got this new, insatiable demand from AI, and that puts it on a direct collision course with the grid's other big new user, Bitcoin mining. But as you're about to see, these two are completely different animals. At its core, Bitcoin mining is brutally simple, right? It's a machine that turns electricity into a digital asset. And for years, the miners' whole argument has been that their most important feature, the ability to just power down at a moment's notice, is actually a huge benefit to the power grid. And Texas is the perfect example of this in action. Picture it. It's a scorching hot summer day, everyone cranks up their air conditioning, and the grid is screaming for relief. The grid operator can literally pay huge power users, like Bitcoin miners, to just shut off. It's a process called curtailment, and it's how miners turn their biggest expense, power, into a whole new way to make money. And we are not talking about pocket change here. This shows you the incredible scale of that flexibility. A single company, Riot Platforms, made over $31 million in 1 month, not for mining Bitcoin, but for agreeing not to. That's real money, and that's real value for a grid that's pushed to its limits. Okay, so that's the flexible, adaptable Bitcoin miner. Now let's meet the new heavyweight champion in the other corner, AI. And AI enters the arena with a totally different playbook, and let's be honest, a much, much stronger political pitch. See, unlike a miner that can shut down in minutes, a hyperscaler like Google or Amazon building a massive AI data center wants one thing above everything else: certainty. They need constant, stable, 24/7 power. They do not want to power down, ever. So here's where it all comes to a head. You've got two new giants competing for the same limited resource, but with totally opposite philosophies on how to use it. This is where the real conflict begins. And this right here, this fundamental difference, is the absolute heart of the conflict. One is a flexible customer that can bend to the needs of the grid. The other is an inflexible giant that demands the grid bend to its needs. I just love this quote because it nails the dynamic perfectly. Miners can act like a shock absorber for the grid, soaking up volatility by powering down. But AI's massive, unwavering demand, well, that creates the shocks in the first place. So what happens when the power markets get tight and politicians have to pick a winner? This difference in how they're framed becomes absolutely critical. Bitcoin is often painted as a speculative, wasteful luxury. But AI? AI is being sold as essential for national security, for economic growth, for the future of medicine. I mean, who do you think wins that argument? The fight isn't just about finding cheap power anymore. The real bottleneck, the new battleground, is all the messy physical stuff. Just getting a spot in line to connect to the grid, waiting years for new power lines to be built, getting all the permits approved. The boring stuff has suddenly become the most important stuff. So if you're a Bitcoin miner in this new world, what do you do? The old game of just finding cheap, stranded energy isn't really enough anymore. In this super competitive environment, you need a whole new playbook just to survive. And what seems to be happening is this barbell strategy, where the industry is splitting into two totally different paths. Miners are being forced to choose. Either they double down on what makes them unique, or they pivot and become something else entirely. So on one end of the barbell, they become true partners with the power companies, getting paid for their flexibility. On the other end, they basically say, if you can't beat them, join them. They become AI landlords. And think about how wild that is. The same companies once defined by their Bitcoin rigs could become the essential infrastructure providers for the AI revolution, just because they have the land, and more importantly, the power hookups that the big tech companies so desperately need. And here's the bottom line. It all boils down to this fundamental shift. For a Bitcoin miner today, owning the connection to the power grid is rapidly becoming more valuable than owning the computers themselves. It's not about the rigs anymore. It's about who controls the megawatts. And at the end of the day, this is what it all comes back to. We love to think of all this digital stuff, AI, crypto, as magic that just happens in the cloud. But it's not. This quote is such a great reminder that all of our digital ambitions are tied to the messy, physical world. You can't run an advanced AI model on hopes and dreams. You need concrete, you need steel, and you need a whole lot of electricity. So the big question we're all left with is this. As these two giants go to war over watts, who gets to decide who plugs in? The answer to that question is going to shape our energy future. It's going to determine which technologies our society prioritizes, who ends up paying more for power, and ultimately what kind of digital world we all choose to build.